The world's first global war? Kings fought for everything. The 7 Years' War, a brutal global fight. It raged across continents and oceans. Some call it the world's first true global war. Kings wanted more land and to redo past deals. Austria versus Prussia, a royal rivalry. Maria Theresa wanted Silesia back. Frederick II eyed Saxony and Bohemia. He aimed to crush Habsburg power. Meanwhile, France and Britain clashed over colonies. America, Africa, Asia, they fought everywhere. Skirmishes in America started it all. Old alliances crumbled before the war. Britain, Austria, Russia, Dutch. They split, fighting over army funds and defending Hanover. France threatened the Austrian Netherlands. Britain made peace with Austria's loss. The Dutch were too weak to fight. They wouldn't defend the Netherlands. Austria's Chancellor Kaunitz saw a new path. He favored France and staying friends with Russia. King George II just wanted Hanover safe. He feared a French invasion. A strong Prussia seemed like protection, but Russia saw Prussia as its enemy. They planned to take East Prussia. They'd traded for Courland and Semigalia. Frederick II snubbed Louis XV's favorite. This helped break France and Prussia's ties. Britain then secretly allied with Prussia. The Westminster Agreement was signed. Britain paid Prussia handsomely. Prussia promised to defend Hanover. France then allied with Austria. The Treaty of Versailles was born. Britain couldn't win Russia over. Britain and Prussia were outnumbered. Prussia had 200,000 troops. Hanover added 50,000 more. France and Austria combined outnumbered Prussia. Russia's army was huge, 330,000 strong. But Russian troops weren't very effective. Prussia was intensely militarized. Frederick II trusted his trained army. He invaded neutral Saxony. Saxony was friends with Russia and Austria. Frederick used Saxony as a base. He met an Austrian army near Lobositz. Frederick's smaller force won the day. Then Prussia took the Saxon army. Soldiers were forced into Prussian service. In North America, tribes chose sides. France had a slight edge here. French settlers got along better with Native Americans. France allied with Shawnee, Huron, and Algonquin. Some tribes sided with the French. Britain got help from the Iroquois and some smaller, scattered tribes. But Britain had way more colonists. Over 1 million in 13 colonies. More colonists meant a stronger militia. France captured Fort Oswego in 1756. Britain lost key territory and access to Lake Ontario. In India, it was a colonial fight. Bengal's ruler surprisingly helped France. He captured British Calcutta. Frederick II invaded Bohemia again. He won early battles. But Austrian reinforcements arrived. Leopold von Daun took command. He crushed Frederick's army at Colon. Prussia lost half its men and guns. Frederick's mystique was broken. He fled. Sweden joined the anti-Prussian team. They wanted Pomerania back. Russian and Swedish ships blocked British naval access. France and Russia attacked Prussia. French forces took Hanover and Brunswick. They outnumbered the defenders. Russian forces had a huge advantage. They took East Prussia and beat the Prussians at Gross-Jägersdorf. But supply problems made Russia retreat. Another French army pushed towards Prussia. Allies attacked Silesia too. They captured Breslau. Prussia was spread too thin. No troops to defend everywhere. An Austrian raid captured Berlin briefly. Frederick needed luck and mistakes from enemies. He made a daring move at Rossbach. His smaller army crushed the French-Austrian force. The Allies weren't prepared. Frederick's surprise attack was brilliant. He regrouped his best troops for Silesia. He won another amazing victory. At Leuthen, he faced a huge army. Charles of Lorraine had 80,000 men. Frederick used his signature oblique order tactic. Pretended to attack the Austrian right flank. Most Prussian troops actually moved south, aiming to surround the enemy's left flank. This partially trapped that part of the enemy. Prussia crushed Austria with heavy fire and bayonets. Reinforcement attempts failed due to panic, and Prussia's great artillery on the hills. The Austrian army suffered a huge loss. Heavy losses forced Charles of Lorraine to leave Silesia. Britain and France fought for colonies in 1757. Britain made 2 new colonial militias in North America. sent 7 more regiments there. But British command was slow. The French were successful again. In summer, French troops and Native Americans captured Fort William Henry. Britain lost another key spot, with 2,000 soldiers captured. In India, the British East India Company's forces moved against French areas. First, Britain took the French town of Fundanagar. Then Robert Clive's army beat a huge Bengali Nawab army at Plassey. But only 7,000 minus 8,000 Bengali soldiers actually fought. Many stayed out because British commanders were bribed. In early 1758, armies got new leaders. French armies were led by Count Clermont, Russians by Wilhelm Fermor, Austrians by Leopold von Daun. Prince Ferdinand led the Anglo-Hanoverian forces. Ferdinand quickly retook Bremen and pushed French troops back across the Rhine. Russian forces took much of East Prussia. They captured the strong city of Königsberg. Meanwhile, Frederick II planned to invade Bohemia and Moravia. He laid siege to Olomouc. But his plans were ruined when Russians moved towards Brandenburg. To protect his capital, Frederick withdrew, leaving other troops to defend against the Austrians. In late June 1758, Ferdinand's forces beat a huge French army at Krefeld. This success helped stop a French invasion of Hanover. It was due to smart flanking moves. On August 14th in Brandenburg, Frederick's army fought a brutal battle with a Russian force at Zorndorf. It was one of the 7 Years' War's deadliest fights. Prussia lost about 11,000 men. Russians lost around 16,000. Both sides lost a lot. Neither side won decisively. The Russian army retreated to regroup. Frederick the Great saw it as a win because of Russian losses. Later, Frederick, with only 60 soldiers, moved towards Bohemia. Near Hotskirch, he met Ludwig von Daun's force of 77 troops. Despite only 33,000 soldiers, the king chose to fight. But his old tactics failed against the big, prepared enemy. On October 14th, Frederick lost badly, with nearly 10,000 casualties. Still, Venden didn't attack Berlin right away. He just failed to take Dresden. This let Prussia regroup and push Austrians out of Silesia. After 3 years, Prussia still struggled against 3 stronger enemies. Prussia's manpower was low. Many best soldiers were dead or sick. The economy couldn't handle the war costs. Frederick only avoided bankruptcy with British help. To replace losses, Prussia forced more men into the army. These new soldiers were not motivated and often deserted. They would switch sides if they could. Most armies used scorched earth tactics in the war. Civilians suffered looting, violence, and taking of supplies. In spring and June 1759, both sides attacked depots in key areas. During this, the Russian army joined the Austrians and moved toward Berlin. Frederick, with 49,000 men, tried to stop the 60,000 enemy near Kunersdorf. On August 12th, they clashed. The Prussians took key heights and won the artillery fight, but fresh enemy troops pushed back the tired Prussians. Inflicting heavy losses, Frederick tried a fast cavalry attack, but it failed due to rough terrain. The Prussian cavalry was cut down by gunfire. The Allies counterattacked, forcing Frederick to flee with his remaining men. Prussia lost 18,000 soldiers and most artillery. The Allies lost about 15,000. Frederick had no troops left to defend Berlin. The Allies could have easily taken it. The Prussian king was desperate and ready to kill himself, but disagreements among the Allies stopped them. This luck was the first miracle of the Hohenzollerns. On August 1st, a coalition army of Prussian, British, and Allied forces beat a large French army at Minden. This victory stopped France from taking Hanover. But on other fronts, Prussia faced tougher fights. At Maxen, 6,000 Prussian soldiers switched to the Austrians. Another 12,000 surrendered. These included former prisoners from enemy armies. Despite this, Frederick continued harsh forced mobilizations. Meanwhile, other war fronts were different. In 1759, the balance of power and colonial fight shifted to London. With a large army, Britain broke French resistance in North America. French forces were outnumbered, leading to Britain taking Quebec City and other forts. In India, the French failed to take British-held Madras, undermining their plans. In early 1760, Prussian armies maneuvered desperately, trying to avoid large enemy forces and attack smaller ones. A strange situation happened near Liegnitz on August 15th. Part of the huge Austrian army chased Frederick's smaller force, but the Prussian king destroyed the chasing corps. Other Austrian parts didn't arrive in time and avoided fighting. For his outstanding near Liegnitz that year, part of Austria's 100K army chased Frederick the Great's 27K, but this Prussian king totally crushed a 30K corps that followed. Other Austrian troops? Too late to help. So they backed off from fighting the Prussians. Frederick earned the title the Great for his victories in this war against odds. In late 1760, Russia and Austria briefly captured Berlin, but with reinforcements coming, the Allies quickly pulled out. After clever moves and small fights, Frederick finally met a larger Austrian army. Frederick the Great faced off against the Habsburg army near Torgau. The Austrians held the high ground, so Frederick attacked from two sides. Bold flanking moves from the north and south won the day, but the victory cost Prussia dearly, with huge losses. Meanwhile, Britain crushed the French in North America and India. They took Montreal, securing all of French Canada. In India, Britain won a key battle and captured the French capital. Taking the city sealed Britain's colonial dominance. By 1761, Prussia was outnumbered by 4-1. Their enemies had a massive troop advantage, so Prussia focused on avoiding big fights and moving around. They also hit enemy supply lines. Russia and Austria captured key fortresses in Prussia's territories. But active battles raged in western Germany. French victories were limited by a major defeat at Fellinghausen. A large French attack on high ground failed spectacularly. The skilled British and Prussian army held firm. Prussia seemed doomed with limited resources. But Frederick got lucky again in early 1762. Russia's Empress Elizabeth died, and her successor admired Frederick. He switched sides, forming an alliance with Prussia. This second miracle of Brandenburg saved Prussia. Russia returned all conquered lands to Prussia. Russian troops even threatened their old allies. They stayed passive in battle, notably at Burkersdorf. Frederick defeated the Austrians, crushing their hopes in Silesia. Allied forces also beat a Franco-Saxon army, stopping French advances. Then, a coup brought Catherine II to power in Russia. She ended the Prussian alliance but stayed neutral. Russia exited the war, and Spain joined the fight against Britain. Spain's king feared Britain's growing power. He allied with France, and war was declared on Britain. Spain invaded Portugal, England's ally. British forces, fresh from colonial wins, attacked Spanish possessions. Britain captured Cuba and the Philippines. But attempts to control all the Philippines failed. So did efforts to take Spanish colonies in South America. Nations realized the war was costly and pointless. A ceasefire was first signed between Prussia and France. The war's last major battle was fought in October 1762. Prussian forces under Prince Henry defeated Austrian troops. Naval conflicts continued, especially between Spain and Britain. Both sides saw that war gains were less than losses. Peace talks began on acceptable terms. The Treaty of Paris was signed on February 10, 1763. Britain and Portugal faced France and Spain. France gave up huge colonial territories to Britain. Spain lost Florida but got compensation in Louisiana. 5 days later, Prussia and Austria signed their own treaty. Prussia's control over Silesia was confirmed. The war ended with a British-Prussian win, expanding their empires. But Britain's debt doubled, leading to new taxes. These taxes on the American colonies sparked a revolution. This eventually led to American independence. Still, sea battles raged on, especially between Spain and Britain. By the war's end, losing more soldiers than gained land. Nations wanted peace on their own terms. February 10, 1763, the Treaty of Paris was signed. Big peace deal. Britain and Portugal versus France and Spain. France gave up East Louisiana, Canada, islands, and India to Britain, and most of its colonies in India. Spain lost Florida to Britain but got West Louisiana. Just 5 days later, Treaty of Hubbardsburg, Prussia, and Austria. Prussia kept Silesia, strengthening the Hohenzollerns. The 7 Years' War, British-Prussian win. British Empire grew huge. But Britain's debt doubled. King George III raised taxes in America. This led to American independence and the USA.